Brianna from Jackson, Mississippi, coming off the heels of AEW's best women's match to date and the best PLE all year in Evolution. Who do you rank as the top 10 women in wrestling currently? This list does not have to be ranked in order. Well, that's good because I'm not ranking them. But these would be my 10 so far this year. I'm including Liv Morgan because she was one of the top female performers in any promotion until she got hurt. And performers, by the way, doesn't just mean in-ring performers. She was doing, great in the ring and had some great in-ring performances this year, but a lot of it had to do with her character work as well. So Liv Morgan is on there for sure. The rest of my list, the other 9, look like this. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Toni Storm, Mercedes Moné, Athena, Stephanie Vaquer, Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, and Willow Nightingale. That's my top 10. Now, that isn't inclusive of any of the great Joshi wrestlers from the Japanese promotions. I just haven't seen enough of them this year to include them in my list. And I'll give honorable mentions to Masha Slamovich, who I know has been holding it down as the TNA Knockouts champion this year. Again, I just haven't seen enough of those matches to judge. But those are my 10 midway through the year. Jack from England. Is it true Yokozuna was at one point considered for a run in WCW so that Hulk Hogan could get his win back? The part about Hogan wanting to get his win back was never confirmed anywhere, but yes, that was the belief. They were interested in bringing him in sometime either in 97 or 98. I think 98. WWE still had him under contract through 98. I think maybe it was through May of that year. People didn't know that, but he was still under contract. So he would not have been able to go anyway unless it was later in the year or WWE let him out of his deal. But there was a reason that he was off WWE television. He had gained so much weight. Like, no state athletic commission in their right mind would allow that man to wrestle. He was a walking heart attack waiting to happen. He was so morbidly obese. Like, go watch the main event of that Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view in 99. Actually, better yet, don't do that. But if you see him there, you'll know why he had no business being in the ring. Legit. He had to be at that point. And I know they've claimed that at his peak, legitimately, he was up to 804 pounds. And I do believe that to be legit. I don't remember exactly when that would have been. I don't think he was 800 at the very end. But like, you see him in that video of Heroes of Wrestling, like, he's every bit of 700 pounds plus by that point. And then a year later, he was dead. It just wasn't a situation where any company was going to be able to use him. Ariel from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. I was thinking about some wrestlers always being tied to a manager. Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman, Undertaker and Paul Bear, Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant. But when did this idea of a wrestling manager start? I don't know who it started with exactly, but I know it goes back at least to the 50s. Actually, earlier than that. I think, oh God, who was it? Jim Londos. Jim Londos had a manager. Londos is in the WWE Hall of Fame. And he had a manager. And he was one of the most popular stars from the 30s and 40s. So it goes back at least that far. But Gorgeous George's wife was managing him. Not just his actual affairs, but I believe she was managing him on his way to the ring and, was visible with him. He may have had another manager after her, another woman. So, the wrestling manager was hardly some new concept in the 70s and 80s when it really started to become popular. It goes back to at least the 40s and 50s, and maybe even a little bit earlier than that. But I can't tell you who the first person was to come out with a manager. I don't know who that is. Conrad from Buffalo, New York. Day one listener of the podcast with a buy, sell, rent 1995 edition. Bret Hart against Diesel at Survivor Series. Bret Hart against the British Bulldog at In Your House Seasons Beatings. Shawn Michaels against Razor Ramon ladder match at SummerSlam. All great matches. All favorites of mine. I've got to buy on the ladder match between Shawn and Razor. I actually think it's not as important as the ladder match, the first one they had at WrestleMania. It's not as well remembered. It's not talked about as often. It doesn't make the highlight reels in the way that that first one does. But I think objectively, it's a better ladder match than the first one. I'm buying on that one. I'm renting on Bret Hart and Diesel at the Survivor Series in 95. That was the best of all the matches they ever had. And I'm going to sell on Bret and the Bulldog from In Your House, which was a great match, but I just can't rank it above the other two. And Jerry from Philadelphia. What is something that you have a greater respect for in the pro wrestling industry since you joined House of Glory? That's a great question. I mean, I have always had great respect for what wrestlers do and putting their bodies on the line. I guess just being able to see it more up close gave me a greater appreciation for what goes into what they do before they step out through the curtain. But I will also tell you that beyond talent and match preparation, production. It's a team effort that goes into making it all work, even when it doesn't. And believe me, there are many times where it doesn't. But it's this great team effort that a lot of people will never know about. It doesn't get talked about. You don't see it, but there's a lot that goes into making that happen. And I have a greater appreciation for that as well in a way that I didn't before. So I hope that answers your question.